Hi, Tom Esch here today talking to you about hazard recognition part 2. But first, a story from Jim Lynn, a good friend of mine. Jim's brother used to own the Minnesota Vikings, and Jim is a PhD psychologist and perhaps the funniest guy that I know. In 1966, Jim was drafted to go to Vietnam. Now, everyone in the mid 60s knew Vietnam was a very dangerous place to be. So he was paying keen attention when he arrived at boot camp. He got 120 hours of hazard recognition training, basically situational awareness for survival in an active war zone. You know, how to spot a Viet Cong soldier in the jungle, how to smell, hear, see, even sense threats to his life. He learned the different categories of threats and studied each one. He learned how to be hyper alert while staying rational and calm. He learned to be completely attentive without being afraid. It's a real discipline. It helped him to stay alive and avoid being injured in any way while he was in Vietnam. Do you know how many people, US soldiers, were injured in Vietnam? How many out of 50 do you think were injured over there during the active wartime? What's your guess? Say a number. How many out of 50? About 5, or 1 in 10. 1 in every 10 US soldiers was injured in Vietnam. And do you know how many workers are injured on construction jobs every year? Jobs like yours? According to OSHA, it's 1 in 10. Same as Vietnam. So your job site, in terms of injury risk, is a little bit like Vietnam. Different situation, of course, but similar percentage of injuries. So knowing and actively dealing with hazards is essential to prevent an injury to you. One of the problems with the ACE drill or the hazard awareness drill that you may do before working, and I hope you're doing it every day, is that you can't consider all the hazards that there are in those 2 minutes or however much time you give it. So I want you to think now about the last injury at your company that you know of or have heard about. What was the hazard that contributed to it? Do you know what the injury was? And do you know what the hazard was? Or maybe a few of them. There may have been several. Pause the video, take about 30 seconds to answer that question, and then come back. One of the things that we've learned about hazards is there's too many. You can't name them all. You can't talk about them all every day. So here's a suggestion. Cover the immediate most dangerous ones first, the ones most likely to cause a fatality or a serious injury, and then take the others and put them in 5 categories. And I'm going to suggest the common safety hazards for category 1: slips, trips, falls, equipment, sort of the traditional hazards that we often think about. Category 2 would be chemical, biological, dust. Category 3 would be ergonomic, you know, how you're lifting, how you're moving. Category 4 would be organizational hazards, communication, the people stuff. Category 5 is the physical hazards, the weather, noise, radiation. Consider one category each day. So on Monday, take the common safety hazards, the slips, trips, falls, tools laying around, faulty or poorly used equipment, and the big 4. You may know about the big 4. They account for more than half of the fatalities. Falls, struck by, electrical, and caught in or caught between. Those are all part of Monday's common safety hazard awareness and recognition. Tuesday, take the chemical, biological dust, you know, the silica dust, COVID-19. What are the asbestos potential hazards on your job site? Wednesday, take the ergonomic hazards, the lifting, the repetitive. You know, it's hump day, so no humps in your back when you're lifting, right? Straight back and repetitive injury risks. Watch for them on Wednesdays. Thursday, organizational hazards. It's the people stuff. What are the communication issues? What are the stress issues? Interpersonal conflict. What's going on with the people on Thursdays? And Friday, the physical hazards, the noise, the radiation, the weather, things like that. You may be thinking about the weather anyway on Fridays. You want to head off maybe out of town or go fishing or hunting. Uh, so think about your hazards today. Which category do they fit into of those 5? So I want you to name one serious risk on your job site today, what you think is most hazardous, and decide what category of those 5 it fits into. If you can't remember all 5, your foreman has it on their email and they can remind you. Thanks again for your time. Think about it. How would those you love be impacted if you suffered a gruesome injury today or even died from not recognizing a hazard? What you do or don't do matters. Again, Tom Esch, safety communication expert at your service. Thanks.